In this video, I'm taking my 4-gallon rigid shop vac and I'm building my own carpet extractor. What's going on, guys? Luke here with Wilson Auto Detailing. I'm a pro detailer based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, a lot of you guys as detailers are looking to save money, and so you're looking at a lot of different extractors on YouTube and you're like, man, can I just build my own for less money? So let's try to answer that question and talk about if this is the most effective way to go, and really what I think about this particular process as we use my rigid 4-gallon as an extractor to extract some really nasty upholstery seats. So talking through what I've got in front of me, number one, this is my 4-gallon rigid shop vac, and I've taken it apart here. I've got my wet filter here. So this is a wet dry vac. I can use a dry filter, I can use a wet filter. The wet filter is basically just this mesh foam that surrounds kind of this plastic exoskeleton. And so you guys need to make sure that if you're doing this, you get all of the right components. So I'm gonna be hooking up all this stuff in the YouTube description box below. So anyway, I'm gonna take my 4-gallon rigid shop vac, take my wet filter. I can take this, and after I've put my filter on, clip the vacuum shut, and that's actually all I have to do. Now I want you guys to listen to this because this is extremely important. There are basically 3 components when you're building your own extractor. You have the extractor head, the hose itself, and then you have this water hose, which is technically like an air hose, but it's got on one end, the female end, for you to actually put a hose onto it. So rather than air passing through, you've got water passing through, and then you've got kind of this quick disconnect on the other end that hooks up to the extractor head here, so I can hook it up just like this, and then I've got my spray trigger. So the water inevitably goes through the end all the way to the mouth of the extractor. It sprays out right here. Now when you're trying to buy all of this stuff, it can be hard to get all of the right fittings and all of the right sizes, and so as I was surfing Amazon, ironically somebody was smart enough to take all of these 3 components and put them together so that you could actually just buy them in a single kit all together, and that's actually what I did because it's so much more effective to do that in my opinion. It's a little bit more expensive, but then you just get everything you need right from the get-go so that you can literally take your 4-gallon rigid vacuum and make it an extractor with 2 purchases, the vacuum and this kit. Now you can purchase all of these things separately. You know, you could buy a Mytee head, a separate air hose right here, and then of course the fittings, but I want to go ahead and show you guys how to put this together. So I'm going to take the end of my air hose, I'm going to take the end of my water hose, and I'm just going to screw them together. And so now essentially what we've got is our vacuum. We've got our hose hooked up that's going to actually take care of our wastewater and any debris, and then we've got our clean water supply line going to the mouth or the head of the extractor. So technically we are ready to extract simply by turning on the hose and turning on our vacuum. We've got our suction and then the supply of the water from the hose, but it can be a little cumbersome to move around like this because you've got this loose hose and this loose hose, and they kind of get caught on stuff. So I want to show you guys how I take care of that. Now in the kit that we're working with here, you have a lot more hose than you need, and it's a lot longer than the hose here that attaches to the vacuum, and so you're going to have a lot of coil kind of left over, so I like to keep it coiled actually. And then what I'm going to do is take these zip ties and I'm just going to wrap them around every 8 inches ish, and I'm going to tie the water supply line hose to the debris hose or the wastewater line itself. So I'm going to stretch this out, take my hose and go down the entire hose, and then I'm going to take a box cutter here and I'm just going to cut off the tips. So I want to show you guys what this looks like here. I'm just going to move down and show you how I've zip tied both of those hoses together periodically, cut off the leftover pieces, and then I've zip tied the entire coil right here, so again it stays coiled, and we've got the vacuum itself there. Now just for the sake of showing you guys what this looks like before we take it into real time extracting upholstery, I've got just a floor mat right here and I've got the hose on without the vacuum, so I just want you guys to see the water sprays out of the hose just like this. So you can see from a few different angles, just like that. And we've got a really steady stream of pressure of water here. So it's not hot water because it's from the tap, but of course, if you had a sink hookup that you wanted to use, you could get hot water very easily, just like that. So you can see here, this looks really good. I'm getting a little bit of air out of the hose, but of course that'll go away after I use it just for a second. And here's what it looks like with the vacuum on. Now let's go ahead and jump into extracting the upholstery inside of this Hyundai that we're dealing with today. Just to set up the context for you, these seats have really never been cleaned. They're really dirty. So the first thing that I'm gonna be doing is just taking my carpet cleaner, which is my carpet bomber from P&S, to the seats. I'm gonna be scrubbing with a drill brush, and I'm just gonna be repeating that process over and over again, depending on how badly the seat needs it and for each seat that I'm actually extracting. Now let me start making some notes about building this extractor and how it's working. Number one, tons of pressure from the water itself. And so when you're using something like the Mytee Lite 8070, one of the things you realize about that extractor is that it kind of atomizes or breaks up the water in a way that you really like. So it kind of spreads the water really evenly, and there's a really high pressure. This basically does the exact same thing, to be honest with you, and I think it has a lot to do with, number one, the pressure from the house, but number two, the fact that we're using a smaller air hose as well as the particular head that comes on this kit. It's doing a really good job on just spreading that water, and it's not vaporizing it, but that's probably a good word to describe it. So I get really really good pressure from the water. Secondly, I have to admit, this 4-gallon rigid shop vac has been my go-to vacuum for the last 7 years of detailing for one reason, and it's that it's a tiny vacuum, but it packs a lot of horsepower. There is a ton of suction with this particular vacuum, far more than vacuums that are a lot bigger than it. Well, when you turn this into an extractor, that becomes the most important variable in the equation to say whether or not this extractor is worth it or not worth it. The suction on this homemade extractor is absolutely unbelievable, and I gotta say, I think it goes absolutely head to head with the Mytee Lite 8070. And you guys should remember that I'm a guy who really loves the Mytee Lite 8070, and by the way, I still love it, but I just have to say that I honestly cannot see enough of a difference between that machine, at least right now, and the 4-gallon rigid of me just making my own extractor. I'm kind of shocked myself that I'm saying this, but the homemade vacuum extractor here with the 4-gallon rigid shop vac is so powerful that cleaning this upholstery was an absolute cinch. Now, the next thing that I want to hit on is the fact that I would say I probably was more efficient detailing this upholstery with this particular extractor than I would have been with other extractors, and the reason for that is because of the nature of the machine and the wide mouth that sits at the head of this extractor. So with a lot of extractors, and I'm kind of comparing it directly against the Mytee Lite 8070 because that's what I use most, the Mytee Lite 8070 kind of has this teeth grooved approach to the mouth of the head of their extractor, and it makes for kind of a thin opening. In other words, you can't get a lot of debris inside of that head that comes on it as kind of the kit head with that Mytee Lite 8070, so you end up having to do a lot of vacuuming or blowing the seat out or the carpet before you can really take the extractor to it, and if you get too much debris in there anyways, you're gonna start to kind of clog up the machine, and it's gonna make it difficult to operate over time. Well, the obvious difference that I saw here is that this particular kind of kit head that I bought on Amazon comes with a really wide mouth, so you can suck up a lot of debris, and it's really easy to suck up the debris because you're mixing it with water, so you kind of loosen it up, and then it sucks through the vac hose, and then that debris with the water shoots out into my 4-gallon rigid shop vac. Well, this is just a vacuum, so there's no like general filters in place. It's just going to the same kind of water basin reservoir that the regular dry dirt would go to if I was vacuuming. So in other words, I can not vacuum these seats, get a bunch of debris sucked up through the head, through the hose into my vacuum, and I'm not damaging anything because it's a vacuum. So that was pretty awesome, and it saved me a ton of time because at most I just blew out some of the seats a little bit. So water pressure, amazing. Vacuum suction power, awesome. So how is it to use in terms of how does it feel? What's the user experience like? It is super user friendly. The head of the extractor is super high quality, made out of super durable different metal parts. The plastic head is super thick, super durable plastic. I wouldn't be tossing it on the ground or anything like that. But again, like I said, whether I'm talking about the Aqua Pro Vac or even the Mytee Lite 8070, both of those extractor heads are plastic as well. This extractor head is at least equal to those in terms of durability, maybe no better and no worse, but just as user friendly and just as durable, no doubt. Now, in addition to that, the vac hose and the water hose here are super high quality, and unless I took a box cutter to them, I'm not gonna damage either one of them, particularly the vac hose, because the kit hose that comes with the rigid, you'll find is actually kind of bendable, and it starts to get kind of concave at the base where the suction is the most powerful. This particular hose is super durable, and literally I can't, if I were to squeeze it with all my grip, I can't squeeze it in because this is made out of super hard plastic, and so it's not gonna bend or change shape at all. I could probably back over this with a car and it still wouldn't change shape. And so the materials are just super, super high quality. Now, as with any extractor, a lot of the results that you're gonna get is just dependent on the products and the tools that you use and kind of the strategy that you use before you ever introduce the extractor. But I have gotta say, I think this is probably the best way to think about this type of extractor. If you are looking for an extractor as a professional detailer that's going to dramatically upgrade something like the Bissell Spot Pro or the little green machine, something like that, that a lot of people do as kind of a budget extractor, buying a separate rigid 4-gallon shop vac and using this kit setup that you can buy all in one to convert it into an extractor has gotta be at least equal to purchasing something like the Mytee Lite 8070, which is definitely dramatically more expensive. And even when I hear myself say that, it sounds kind of crazy because I do love the Mytee machine so much, and there might be certain situations where I would pull that out rather than this one, because one of the drawbacks and differences between these two is obviously the fact that the Mytee Lite 8070 heats up the water and gives you hot water extraction, and this is just cool tap water from the hose. But outside of that single distinction, I probably would not draw any other con to using this type of rigid extractor. The only thing I would say is I would not want to have a dry and wet vacuum in the same machine. So if I was going to use the 4-gallon rigid shop vac as my extractor, extractor, I would buy a completely separate vacuum and have this as my extractor. The thing that I'll close out with here in saying is, as a detailer who was mobile for a number of years, having a machine that is this powerful of an extractor and this portable is one of the most convenient things on planet Earth, and I hate extracting, like I said. So being able to throw this small machine into a car and just start extracting with really the same efficiency as a far more expensive machine, I don't know if you get a better deal than that. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, if you're interested in building your own, make sure to check out the YouTube description box below, because I'm gonna list out tools and products that you really need to make sure you're getting, and you gotta get the specific sizing right. So check out that list below, because I'm gonna be real organized with it so you guys can build your own if you're interested. And if you're in the detailing world and you're kind of confused because there's so many tools and products available for you to purchase just in general, I'm also gonna hook up my top 12 tools and products list that I call the Essential Detailing Toolbox. It's just the tools and products that I suggest every detailer purchase, because they're kind of been my staples for the last 10 years. You can check those tools and products out below as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you got some value here, make sure to extract the like button by clicking it and turning it blue, because it's the only thing I can see where I know that people got some value out of this content. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, thanks for being involved, keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.